What is up, everyone? Dan here, Crypto Capital Venture, June 25th, 2019. Bitcoin, it's continuing to go up a little bit, and just want to track it in real time. I mean, I feel like if I wasn't running a recruiting firm, if I wasn't working and taking care of my clients and trying to grow a business, I'd probably be live streaming a lot more, as Bitcoin's always making certain moves. But when I get a free minute, I always like to come on here if I have some time. So right now, Tuesday, around 8 p.m. Eastern, Bitcoin making a little bit of a move. I figured I'd track it. And if you're a replay viewer right now, please feel free to hit the timestamp in the comments below. I'll put some timestamps so you can kind of skip forward into the video so you don't have to wait wait for the video to start, I guess you could say. What's up, everybody? I see some people already here. Appreciate you guys coming in. What's up, Tech Lords? LTC Perosi, what is up? So, Manchester in the house. I was looking at some stats, and I was definitely looking at the amount of people spread out throughout the world. It's incredibly interesting and cool to see where everybody's watching from. So thanks for coming and watching all the way from Manchester. Appreciate you all. So Bitcoin obviously moving a little bit right now, 11,750-ish. I'm sure now that I'm doing a live stream, it'll stop and we'll go back down now. It always happens. Maybe we'll break 12K while I'm doing a live stream. But yeah, I just wanted to cover. I really wanted to talk about it because it's the more Bitcoin just keeps going up, it's the more people start talking about the overbought topic of conversation. And it's an important topic of conversation. Bitcoin, when it's in an overbought area, is dangerous in terms of buying historically. That's just the way it goes. Now, that's on the short term. Dangerous in the short term. If there are people buying right now at $11,700 and they're just getting into the market, and then tomorrow the market's correct and Bitcoin's down 30%, that person that bought 11,700 before going down 30%, if they can hold, they're not in a bad position. So it really depends on what perspective you're looking at this from. Because if you're a long-term holder, you're fine, right? In my opinion. I don't think right now $11,760 is the top for Bitcoin and it's just going to go down from here and fail. I don't believe that. I think we're still early stage. You know, could we go a huge dip to $9,000? Yes. But long term, the difference between $9,000 and $12,000 is not that big of a difference in the long term. If you're playing a short game here, if you're trading, then this really doesn't apply to you, because then at that point, 30% within a week, that means a lot. That really means a lot. But I always am going to integrate pullback talking points in my videos, and even more so when Bitcoin is overbought on especially the weekly chart as it is right now. Very, very bullish. I just want to let you know I'm very bullish. That's partly why I put my bullish shirt on, even though we're talking about pullbacks. But we'll talk about what's going on in Bitcoin right now too. But so I first want to jump into the video. I'll timestamp 4 minutes in. We're jumping in. I just want to go over this article. Square CashApp now allowing users to deposit Bitcoin to their wallet. This, in my opinion, is big news. And you can see it here. It's being reported by CoinDesk that the popular Square CashApp has begun to allow users to deposit Bitcoin into their app wallet, which until now could only be withdrawn from. When the app launched in late 2017, users had the ability to buy and sell Bitcoin as well as to send it to a personal wallet for their choosing. However, there was previously no way to send Bitcoin to the CashApp, though the feature was long promised. CashApp making moves. You can now deposits. Word is spreading that the feature has been enabled, and this is being reported by users across Twitter. I'm kind of a dummy because I meant to check. I meant to get my phone before I press to go live to see if the app on my phone allows me to do this. I didn't check. So here's a tweet. Dennis Parker, Cash App just enabled Bitcoin deposits. It's awesome. And I'm bringing this up because it's big news for the space. Cash App's pretty big. It's pretty big when they enabled Bitcoin in general, but now that they're allowing deposits, pretty big again. But I guess the big thing for me is I really like Cash App. I really do. If I'm going to buy Tech Lords, thank you for the LTC. I see it. Just popped up on my screen. Appreciate it. I need to turn sound notifications so I don't miss those. Thank you for that, Tech Lords LTC. Appreciate you. I'm happy you're here. Awesome meeting you the other day, man. Thanks for LAUNCHPAD Foundation. So I really like Cash App. When I'm buying Bitcoin now, this is just me personally. You do whatever you will. This is my personal preference. I use Cash App to buy Bitcoin most often now, as opposed to Coinbase. I like it better. It's easier. So the end of this article says, will more features or coins be coming to the Cash App? So here's the thing. I know that they're saying that they're only ever going to have Bitcoin. And that's fine. But I think it would be valuable. I know we have a lot of Litecoin people in here. I know we do. I think it would be extremely valuable if they added Litecoin. And although maybe currently they're opposed to any other cryptocurrency besides Bitcoin, I think there is potential, and I think there is a possibility that they're going to be adding Litecoin, that they will add Litecoin. I tweeted this June 2nd, a few weeks ago. I said, retweet to get Litecoin listed on a Cash App. It just makes sense. Besides Bitcoin, LTC is the most secure, reliable, and consistent crypto it's meant to be, and that's just the bottom line. That tweet got good traction because Litecoin community knows what's up. So if you're on Twitter, hit up Cash App on Twitter. Let them know you want Litecoin. It really makes a difference. We're this early in the space where you can have impact. Your voice really does make a difference. You better believe Cash App saw this tweet. I'm 95% sure Cash App saw this tweet. Whether or not it influenced them to do anything, obviously thus far it hasn't influenced them to do anything, but they saw the tweet, I'm pretty sure. And that is the kind of power that the community has on Twitter. So big news, first off, Cash App, making deposits, Bitcoin deposits to their wallet. Awesome. I think that's bullish news. I love when just little pieces of news come out like that in this space. Moving on to Bitcoin. Price, 12,000, 13,000. Currently 60% BTC dominance. You see it here. I'm going to talk about Litecoin in this video, so I have it highlighted, Litecoin in terms of market cap. And a lot going on right now because everybody, at least in the crypto space, their eyes are on Bitcoin. So let's jump into the charts and talk about it. Timestamp, 9 minutes, mental note. So first off, here's the thing. There's a bunch of different things in play right now. Number one, we obviously have this upward momentum going back from February, but really December, from our low in December, the bottom of the bear market, we have this insane upward momentum. It looks awesome. And in this live stream, because we're going to be talking about its Bitcoin's current move into currently almost 11,800. I mean, we're just about very close to 11,800. But I'm going to kind of break down, and some of this is going to be context, surrounding my previous videos that I've done in the last couple days. So if you've seen those videos, bear with me, I guess. But I think it's important. You know, we're covering this live, so I'm just breaking it down because I'm here looking at the charts live, and I'm just sharing it with you. So there's 11,800. It looks like we just hit it. We can go to the 4-hour chart, and yes, I mean, we can actually. I'm never covering hourly charts, but why not, right? Just for the sake of it, just happening right now. 11,809 as I do this video. It's awesome. It's exciting because this is a high that Bitcoin hasn't had for quite some time now, right? So I'm going to just get the 4-hour back in play. I want to have it ready. If we go to the daily chart, though, just for reference, you can see Bitcoin, you know, actually not touching 11,800 since, I mean, I guess, is that, yeah, I guess that day on this, you can see this wick here on this daily chart. Although, no, that's not 11,800. We have it right here. That was January 28th, 2018. Everybody feeling the pain, January 28th, 2018. And when we did hit 11,800, guess what? That was extreme resistance, and we bounced right off it. We got rejected. The last time we were actually bullishly at 11,800 was December 5th, just about. Let's call it December 6th, 2017. Some of you maybe were not even here. I'm not sure. But that's the last time we bullishly got there. And for further reference, that was 11 days from the bull market high, before the pain ensued, before the bear market ensued. We were 11 days away. The last time we hit 11,800. Now, this time around, as we break this barrier, this is a whole new cycle getting ready to start. This is the very beginning. The door is being creaked open as we enter this vicinity. It's incredible, the difference in terms of market cycles, where we were back here and where we are right here. This is just the beginning. It is why I have my bullish shirt on. I know this is kind of more of a Litecoin shirt, but whatever. I'm bullish on Bitcoin and Litecoin. The halving is that much closer for Bitcoin. The halving for Litecoin is even that much closer. And things are just looking extremely good, right? So that plays into long-term how good things are looking, why I'm incredibly bullish. But let's go back to the weekly chart because I want to break this down little by little. So I did a video yesterday in terms of Bitcoin being overbought. Now, it is overbought. From a technical analysis perspective, Bitcoin is overbought. It's just the way it is, right? It's not like negative. It's not bearish. It's just the technicals, right? They just don't lie. Now, you can see it on the weekly chart. And this is, I'm going to just get to the point in terms of what the video yesterday was about. It was simply about anytime Bitcoin has really approached this level in the RSI on the weekly, it has consolidated greatly. I mean, I don't know what the average was, but, you know, back here we're talking, this was a 90% consolidation. But that was also us entering a bear market, right? This was right here, the previous bear market. You see in the middle of the screen, this was what, 85% or so correction, consolidation. Now, it's not always that great of consolidation, just throwing that out there. But those are two huge times Bitcoin entered this area on the RSI on the weekly and saw big consolidation. Now, smaller times of consolidation, you can see them. They're spread out sporadically. There's one, here's one, here's one. And those areas of consolidation are more of the type of areas of consolidation that we're anticipating right now, right? So here's one, it was like 30-some% consolidation. And then here's one, it's around 30% to 40% consolidation. Not going to go through every one. And I know I talk about this a lot. I talked about it in yesterday's video. This is mainly for the purpose of breaking down what's going on right now. This is the stuff that I'm looking at every day. It doesn't get boring for me to look at these things, especially when I did yesterday's video. I believe the weekly RSI, when I was doing that video, was kind of like, I feel like it was somewhere around there. So you see this weekly momentum kind of with this huge uptick again, right at this area right now, around 87 on this RSI. Or no, that's not 87. Let me put a line here, horizontal line, and let me make it white. So around 80 on the RSI, right? And that 80 line truly is like an average of all of these overbought conditions, you know, spreading back on this chart to like 2012, right? So there's a lot of consistent data suggesting a pullback is coming. It's not a bad thing. Now, moving on, I don't want to stay on that forever. I think we've established the fact that a pullback is very possible. I would say likely, but I know a lot of people don't like that word, that it's likely going to happen. So I'll keep that to myself, even though I just said it. Daily chart, here's a couple things I want to talk about. Number one, here's our 11,700 line for reference, just so that you have it. And you can really just see Bitcoin just last time we were even in this vicinity was just on our way down in that bear market. It was a 100% different environment. Also, months prior, you can see it was just getting to the all-time high right there in December. The vibes were different, everybody. The $11,700 vibes were different. I have 11,700 on the chart because when I started this video, that's where Bitcoin was trading, 11,700. Now we're at 11,800. So actually, since we're there, I'm going to move this line up. So we have a picture. 11,800 gives you a good sense of how quick things can change. So 11,800 on the screen right now, currently, a huge area from a historical perspective. If you watch my technical analysis, you know I'm not like the biggest person on using historical resistance levels. I don't, I'm not 100% against it. I just don't do it a lot, right? But here's a clear line right here at this 11,800, 11,000 down to 11,700 in terms of where Bitcoin saw huge resistance going into a huge bear market. And then the other thing I want to just talk about as we're trading like right at that line right now, potential resistance there, is this. I want to talk about this in reference to consolidation, in reference to the fact that we just looked at how overbought we are on the weekly chart. And so I have right here, this is a pattern from April 3rd or so to May 8th. So around a month long. This is the daily chart. And it gives us a good illustration of consolidation. And it could give us insights, or at least some type of picture into a type of consolidation that Bitcoin might get, as opposed to 30%, 40% consolidation. So let's first, for reference, look at the RSI. I just want to show you the RSI one last time. And on the weekly chart, all right, let me take it back a second. This pattern here, it's the beginning of April to the beginning of May, right? So let's go back to the weekly and let's just find that on the RSI, just so that we have it. So beginning of April and beginning of May. All right, so we're definitely a little bit, we're not in the overbought area, that's for sure, in terms of this RSI, in terms of momentum. But on the stock RSI, the quicker moving momentum oscillator, Bitcoin was in the overbought, and it was actually already there for like a month or so, already in the overbought. You can see it here. So there are two similarities we have right now. Number one, we're in the overbought, right, with upward momentum right now on this stock RSI. You can see it right here. And we have this upward momentum once again on the RSI. Okay, so let's go back to what happened on the daily chart in terms of this pattern. Overbought conditions on the stock RSI, approaching overbought in the RSI. And this is what it looked like. This is a picture of consolidation for Bitcoin in those areas. And what it looks like, if we break it down, is consolidation, but not huge consolidation where we're getting like 30%, 40% to downside. Like this daily candle here, 6%, right? And then what happened? We traded sideways a little bit, got a little bit of a move up, and then we had another 2 days of consolidation, 10% consolidation, and then sideways. But just with those two little moves, 10% days, with a little bit of upside, another 10% 2 days, and then a little sideways trading, not too much volatility going on here. Look what happened on the daily RSI. We went from, a pretty overbought condition, and we just consolidated down, right? And you can see the same thing happened on the stock RSI. We went from extremely overbought into the stock RSI, and then just this sideways consolidation brought our stock RSI down. So it doesn't always need to be a huge, massive, bleeding out for Bitcoin to see consolidation. I want to throw that out there because I know it's easy to envision a consolidation, especially when we're so overbought and overextended right now, where we're just getting a huge, 30-40% week or something. It doesn't always have to be like that. And this is a good example of it. Just that rising wedge right there. We had some higher highs, higher lows, and then Bitcoin actually continued to the upside. I mean, in reality, from those levels, we can take from the breakout level, Bitcoin currently is up 100%, right? So Bitcoin was pretty much overbought at this area, and it consolidated sideways, right? It went from being overextended from the 50 moving average right here, right? 39% to, by the end of that pattern, being overextended from the 50 moving average, like 19%. So you can see how just because we're overextended from the 50 moving average, and we can actually see how overextended we are, this is a big indicator for me. 40% overextended again. And usually when we're above 30% overextension from the 50 moving average, that's when I really begin to anticipate a pullback. Just because if you just go look back on the daily chart for Bitcoin, like the history of it, even in an environment where we're on the other side of the 50 moving average, right? So like a bear market, we're on the other side of it. If you look at the overextension, you're going to see that 30% is very volatile. It's very overbought, and there's almost always gravity pulling us back to the 50 moving average. Now, here's probably the best case scenario for that gravity. It's this type of deal. It's kind of a sideways looking consolidation pattern with a little bit of 10% days or so sprinkled in, and that really brings us back down in terms of the weekly. And you can even see it right here on the weekly RSI. Bitcoin just completely leveled out and came back down a little bit. So that's something that is in play for Bitcoin in terms of consolidation, because we've been talking about it a lot, the potential for a pullback. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a huge pullback, although a huge pullback is also in play. So just be ready for either one. On this channel, we'll be tracking patterns. We'll be tracking short-term support to see if we're going to, see hints or clues of a slower consolidation sideways pattern, or if we're breaking support, then it might be an environment where Bitcoin's like really kind of tanking quick, and it's really getting its consolidation over with, right? And that happens often too. So just be prepared for that. So right now, I think it's important just to note Bitcoin is 40% overextended on the daily chart, right? So, you can just go back to the last bull market, and you can just take your eye and you can just be like, well, what was it here? Here it was 66% overextended in that bull market. What was it here as we were exiting the last bear market back here, May 2016? 60%, right? So it gives you an idea of the fact that Bitcoin defies gravity sometimes, right? So take all technical analysis for what it's worth, because sometimes, especially to the upside, Bitcoin just could care less. So, and I respect Bitcoin in that regard when I'm doing my technical analysis. Like sometimes things just don't play out the way you would anticipate, and you're just kind of blown away by how Bitcoin is operating. Tech Lords, who may or may not be here, I got to meet him over the weekend, and we were talking, and he made a good point. and he said they're gonna really have to, like, we need to change the RSIs. And I guess we can change the RSI settings, but you really can't use technical analysis, especially in terms of momentum for Bitcoin, at every waking moment, because sometimes Bitcoin will just take off and RSIs are kind of just off the chart, right? So that happens too, and I just want to throw that out there. So in terms of the actual move that Bitcoin is making right now, let's check it out. I tweeted actually a little bit ago. It really puts it into perspective. I said Bitcoin sprinting to first target 12,400. The way patterns continuously play out never ceases to amaze me. So momentum is one thing, patterns are another thing, and it does never cease to amaze me how patterns play out, because they truly do, both in Bitcoin and Litecoin, since those are the two that we've really been tracking. But to get a sense of this, we can look at the daily chart, and you just see these progressions of patterns and their breakouts, right? We have this huge rising wedge pattern that is the big one that's in play for me. I've been tracking this. We've been patiently tracking this on this channel for a while now. We had this breakout to the downside. Right now, pretty much a false breakout, right? Which is what we were anticipating. After we got this breakout through the lower trend line, a revisit to the upper trend line, and then finally a break through the upper trend line. So this was a busted rising wedge, which are extremely, extremely bullish, right? With a breakout target of 12,700 in that rising wedge. Now, we have other things going on at the same time. We have this ascending triangle in play, which is the 12,400 target that I tweeted about. Along the way, we had an ascending triangle down here, which was what propelled us into these important trend lines of this rising wedge. It's what propelled us to be able to break and call this a busted rising wedge. So patterns are everywhere. They play out. We have our targets. We have our areas that we're looking for in terms of resistance, and it really helps. It truly does. I don't know about you, but I love tracking Bitcoin, and I love charting. So I highly respect it. I really do. So going to the 4-hour chart now. Going to the 4-hour chart, we can kind of get a sense of what this looks like a little bit zoomed in. So number one, I'll just delete Fibonacci for a second. Here's our ascending triangle right now, right? This was today, broke the upper trend line of this ascending triangle. Here's our target for this ascending triangle, 12,400. And we're just on our way right now. I mean, I started this video and I forget exactly where we were, but I think we were like 12,700 or so. And now Bitcoin is 12,870. We're on our way to that target. Now we're also on our way to the larger breakout target, 12,700 up here for that larger pattern. So time will tell if we get there. One thing is for sure, we don't always, although overbought and overextended right now, we don't always have to anticipate pullbacks. But at the very least, if you want to anticipate a pullback and you're wondering, well, where's support? Well, right now on this smaller time frame pattern, this ascending triangle, this support down here around 11,200 is the first area we'd look for, maybe a short-term consolidation, right? If we got something like that down to here, everything's still in play. We want to see support at the upper trend line of this triangle, but from there, we want to bounce, right? And then we can continue to our targets. So that's like one scenario. It's the more conservative scenario. If you watch my TA videos, I'm always anticipating conservatively a revisit to the trend line that we broke out of, right? So I don't know if that's going to happen in this 4-hour candle, this one in the middle of the night. I don't know, right? But a revisit to there, not a bad thing. Could be a short-term consolidation of, from where we are now, could be a short-term consolidation of like 5 to 6%. But that's now. We might not get it for another 4 hours. I don't know. but that's what it looked like. And what that does in general is it pulls us back down on the 4 hour, right? Pulls us back down in consolidation on the 4 hour RSI. So one thing I want to point out on this 4 hour chart, which is another bullish scenario for you, which is really plays into our hitting our targets up here, 12,400, 12,700, is this. We talked about this pattern back here, right? And we had the breakout, which really propelled us into, let me open this chart and just explain this. So this pattern back here propelled us into these trend lines and back into this rising wedge, and really confirmed this busted rising wedge, right? Because at first we had this false breakout, we revisited the bottom trend line and got resistance, we fell into a new pattern and bullishly broke through. That's what we were waiting for. That's what we were tracking. It took an extreme amount of patience, but Bitcoin, it requires patience, and it pays off, I'm telling you. So we busted through. This was our bullish pattern right here, but look at this bullish setup. First off, the pattern is very similar to the pattern that we're in right now up here that we just broke out of, right? So for reference, Bitcoin from this breakout to literally where we are now, 26% to the upside, right? Now, if we look at not only the pattern similarities, but the RSI similarities on the 4 hour, you can see they're clearly there. So I've circled them in yellow. Number one is this. At the beginning of this move right here, right, Bitcoin was just into overbought on the stock RSI right here. That's number one. We just entered overbought there, but we still had 20-some% to the upside to go. So be careful when you're looking at overbought in the 4 hour. Number two, just entered overbought on the RSI right here. Okay, so we're already in overbought there. You don't always need to be down and oversold before you're getting these huge moves. We're in overbought up here, and we're getting this huge move, right? So that's number two. Now look at where Bitcoin is now. Just entered overbought in the 4 hour on the stock RSI, and just entered overbought on the RSI right here. Simultaneously, pretty much breaking the upper trend line of a very similar ascending triangle. So am I sitting here saying that Bitcoin's going to see 26% to the upside like it did out of this triangle? I think it was it 26%? Yeah, 26%. No, I'm just saying it could. And part of that would be absolutely hitting our targets up here. I mean, 26% from this trend line actually is $14,000 Bitcoin. That could be our next resistance level. One thing I do want to mention in regards to everything we're talking about, especially maybe you're here and you missed a video I did. I think this actually was today I did this video. You might have missed this video, which is this. All this technical analysis that I'm doing, we have our targets, 12,400, 12,700. All of this. This is a very important key area right now. Fibonacci retracements, long-term weekly chart. So we have our swing high, bull market high, bear market low, and we have our 786 to 618 channel. Huge resistance area for Bitcoin. That area, if you're watching this video, is an area where I basically have stated I'm truly just talking about a bull market. And I know pretty much everybody is already talking about Bitcoin in its bull market, but this is the true technical indicator for bull market, in my opinion. It is breaking above and staying above this area, right? So that line, the 786 line up here is 15,800 or so. And I want to paint that picture for you. And we have data, thankfully, to help us do that. So the last bear markets, we have a similar type of move. We had a bull market high. We had a bear market low. We have our Fibonacci. And then we have our 618 to 786 channel. Such a reliable indicator, you know, for us. We've used it so many times on this channel for, you know, over probably a year and a half now. And here it is in the most reliable manner, which is the weekly chart zoomed out, which plays into the cycles of Bitcoin. The Fibonacci retracement is a huge, huge helpful indicator for us. So here's our 618 to 786 Fibonacci retracement. So 786, 618, and look what happened. So this is very bullish, by the way. Bitcoin originally, after exiting its bear market, saw resistance at the 618 line, right? And then we had a huge 40% retracement. Now, after that, you can see what happened. Bitcoin had a continuation, right? So this truly was a picture right here of bull market really beginning. And there was a lot of amazing gains in store for Bitcoin. Now, this time around, you can see Bitcoin approaching this 618 line, right? So here's our 618 line. Here's our 786. Bitcoin's approaching it. And the 618 line where Bitcoin saw resistance last time, extremely confluent with our targets right now. Our targets are slightly below this 618 line, but they're right there, right? Here's our targets in terms of what we're talking about on the short term, and here's this very key 618 line. Now, I just want to say this. If Bitcoin manages to break through this without seeing its consolidation, I will be extremely amazed. I think I was texting a buddy of mine earlier, and I think I said if it did something like that, I would stop making videos. I won't stop making videos. I was kind of just kidding. But I will be incredibly surprised. Like, for this to happen, for Bitcoin to do this, we'd have to be, you know, up another 35% with continuation. It would surprise me. Like, it wouldn't surprise me because Bitcoin's crazy like that, but it would surprise me because this would be extreme divergence from Bitcoin in its momentum and in our Bitcoin cycle chart. Our Bitcoin cycle chart would still be 100% in play. You can see it right here. Zoom out on it, right? But the pace at which Bitcoin is entering this next cycle is already quick, by the way. We're already speeding up. But if Bitcoin breaks that huge key area of resistance on the Fibonacci retracement, I'm going to put it on this chart because it's nice to see. So you can see it back here, right? You can see it in that last market. By the way, date range wise, from Bitcoin's bottom to that resistance level, 532 days, right, in that last market. And let's do this again. Now let's chart it where we are now. So here's the resistance level up here. We're very close. And then let's see how many days it took Bitcoin this time from bear markets bottom. 203 days. Bitcoin has exited this bear market over twice as fast. As it did in the last bear market. So Bitcoin is looking crazy right now. And a lot of that probably has to do with, you know, how different things are right now, right? This was all the way back in June 2016. This was 3 years ago. There was a lot of different exposure of Bitcoin back then than there is now, right? Facebook wasn't creating its own cryptocurrency back then. So I just want to throw that out there. Now, all of this to say, this whole buildup into this resistance area, right, for a short-term pullback, I want to show you probably the most important part of this. And I didn't bring this up in my video earlier, but this was like 2 weeks. It hit this Fibonacci retracement resistance like 2 weeks or 3 weeks before the halving of 2016. So right now, Bitcoin's approaching this resistance already, and we're not like 2 or 3 weeks away. We're like 40, 45 weeks away, right? We're almost a year away. So that's incredible in my opinion. Bitcoin is making huge moves, which is also why, you know, we have our trajectory for this chart. It's speculative chart. But you know, this $90,000 target 2021 could totally happen quicker if Bitcoin continues. But for the very short term, we do see resistance for Bitcoin coming up, right? And it's very clear if we're looking at the weekly chart. So keep an eye on a resistance into that area, which the exact price point I already forget. I'm going to actually chart it real quick. And I'm going to leave this open. So huge resistance area coming up, 618 to 786, 13,400. All right. Bitcoin actually broke, when I was just talking about that, Bitcoin has broken 11,900. We're 11,954. Can we break a key $1,000 target while I'm doing a live stream? That would be incredible. It really would be incredible. We have a couple super chats I saw come in. I appreciate the super chats. I saw a $5 super chat. Bitcoin JC, one of my favorite channels. Thanks for all you do. Dan, wishing everybody watching huge success this year. Thank you for the $5 super chat for our Launchpad Foundation. Appreciate it. Appreciate you watching. Jim Flanagan, win a Litecoin on 4th of July giveaway on the Litecoin app. Shameless plug. Buy, spend, replenish. Jim Flanagan, thanks for the $20 super chats. Thanks for shilling your app. I highly recommend everybody go download Jim's app, the Litecoin app. And he's giving away 4th of July giveaway. And the 4th of July, he's doing it because it's Sarah and I's wedding anniversary. It's our 1-year anniversary. That's why all the fireworks are going off that day. That's why Jim's giving away from his Litecoin app on July 4th. There, I shamelessly plugged my wedding anniversary, my 1-year wedding anniversary. Thanks for the super chat, guys. Appreciate it. So Bitcoin on the short term, I'm going to keep an eye on this right now. 11,967. You see us kind of approaching our targets. And if you really look at it, right now, Bitcoin 3-4% away from our ascending triangle target. As it often does, we hit a target. You might anticipate some resistance after hitting a target, right? You might have anticipated some resistance when Bitcoin hit this target back on this ascending triangle. Right here, resistance. We talked about it before we even got there, because what was there confluent with our breakout targets, right? The height of this triangle. What was confluent with that was a couple really, like 3 really big things. Number one, the bottom trend line of this huge rising wedge. Number 2, the upper trend line of the wedge, since we're so close to the apex. And then number 3, the huge psychological barrier of 10,000. You would think Bitcoin would have seen a little resistance in that area, and it just didn't. Bitcoin just, in the following day, up how many percent? 12% in the following day to a swing high, falling into our new pattern, which we're just breaking out of right now, namely this ascending triangle. And so we can say, if in the short term we continue to our target here, I think there's a huge possibility Bitcoin doesn't see any resistance and actually just kind of busts through that and perhaps meets our larger target, 12,700, which that is not even that far away right now. It sounds far away, but it's truly only 6-7% to the upside. We are extremely close to that happening. 12,000 might be a too big of a mental barrier for the markets. I don't know. Right now we're on the 4-hour. If I go over to the daily chart, you see that red line right there. I already have to update it again. Started this line at 11,700 when I did this video. Updated it to 11,800. when we broke 11,800, and now I'm updating it to 11,900 because we just broke 11,900. And you also know how quick that can change, right? We can be at 11,500 in a matter of minutes, right? So we know that, but for the sake of this video, I'm updating it. So we had our resistance levels right here, kind of, right? Because we're tracking that in particular. And right now, if we can update the story of where we are historically, our next biggest area in terms of Bitcoin at its all-time high is really fast approaching. 10 days prior to its all-time high in December of 2017, Bitcoin traded at around 13,500. You see how quick it got there in a day's time from where we are right now. One day, Bitcoin got there. If you look at where Bitcoin was on the RSI, you can get an idea of what Bitcoin was doing comparatively to where we are now. So that day, Bitcoin, you can see very actually similar to where we are in the RSI today. So again, overextended. I'm not going to talk about how overextended Bitcoin is right now, how overbought Bitcoin is right now. Here's the good news, everybody. That was 10 days prior to bull market all-time high. And then you know what followed. You may or may not have been here. We're not in that stage. We are not in that stage anymore. So to put it very simply, Bitcoin today, the Bitcoin of today, you can see it on our chart, is comparatively, let's see. So our Fibonacci retracement, we have that resistance, 782. So probably around $700, $800. The Bitcoin of today, $11,000 Bitcoin, is the $700 Bitcoin of 2016. Just as Bitcoin was getting ready to enter a massive bull market. The difference in price is insane, but we are in the very same exact part of the cycle, which is the doors opening to the bull market. It's very exciting to be here right now. The very beginning, even with potential pullbacks looming, it's exciting. For context, we did get a pullback as let me go over this chart. Let me zoom back in here. So as we broke 13,000, as we broke 12,000, 13,000, Bitcoin did get a pullback. You may have remembered 24%. So we're approaching those levels again. Historically, we're approaching those levels again, 11,926. So close to 12,000. Ryan Schaub, $5 super chat for Launchpad Foundation. Appreciate that, Ryan. Thank you. Just wanted to say I love you, Dan. Good vibes. My second daughter's coming tomorrow, and we won't have a name. I suggested Hodl, but my wife vetoed it. Well, first off, congratulations. I can't even imagine you have a miracle on the way. Second daughter, God bless you. Sarah and I will specifically pray for you and the family tonight. So congrats, and also congrats for having a phenomenal, wise wife that refuses to name her daughter Hodl. You married a smart woman. Ryan, you married a very smart woman. Poseidon Lou, 999 super chat. Thank you, Lou. I see you on videos now on Twitter. Like, you came out of your shell, man. I don't know what to say about it, but I love it. You came out of your shell. You're on video talking on Twitter for hundreds and thousands of people to see. Poseidon Lou, thank you for the super chat. Appreciate it. And Ryan, thank you for the super chat. You both are great. So Bitcoin 11,934. I think I've done all the technical analysis I could on Bitcoin, and I can't stall much longer. I was hoping we break $12,000 as I'm doing Bitcoin technical analysis. Now, here's what's cool. I still have to cover Litecoin, and I will be keeping my eye on Bitcoin to see if we get there. So currently, here's the Bitcoin 4-hour. As I get ready to kind of leave it for a minute, we get a good sense of how close we really are to some key targets, right? Especially as we're entering an overbought area. We already are in overbought. Really curious to see what happens. Litecoin lovers, we have Litecoin. So I don't know. Usually I don't leave patterns on the screen. I delete them because they're extremely distracting. But to me, and I should probably just take a snapshot of this and frame it. This is extremely, just the picture that you see on the screen, if you're a Litecoin investor, extremely relevant, important. It depending on how you look at it, and since I kind of look at things deeply, it's a really congratulatory picture on the screen. We did videos, almost every day, pretty much every day in the bear market, talking about the bull market that would come, that would ensue. And when you just look at how technical analysis plays out, and you look at the picture of it, you look at the picture of patterns hitting targets, and you look at actual patterns playing into your personal success. And I'm saying that on behalf of all of you out there that not only held through the bear market, right, and even invested and accumulated in a bear market, but you held, and now we have this picture. It's really a beautiful picture of success on the screen. Even, no matter what happens next, but from that low in December to where Litecoin is now, over 500% gains, that deserves a pound, right? And Litecoin or Bitcoin also deserves a pound for its gains, not 500% gains this year or since December low, but still. But it's a beautiful picture. It's why I have trouble, deleting it, but it's there. And we can go over to the 4-hour chart right now and just look at what's going on in Litecoin, because we're obviously tracking Litecoin as well. So right now we have our ascending triangle. We had an update. We updated it the other day. We updated the upper trend line after we had that swing high to like 144 area. And here's what happened since that video. Couple things. Number one, in that video, we talked about Fibonacci retracement, potential retracement to this key area of 132 to 135. So we had our higher low down here, right? It was our second touch to the bottom trend line to our swing high of 144, 145. And we were talking about this channel down here in that video, which is the all-important 618 to 786. You just saw it covered on Bitcoin weekly charts, which helps us define cycles. It helps us define like the lifetime cycles of Bitcoin, and right now we're using it on a 4-hour chart. So it's how cool Fibonacci retracement is. Now, look how nicely thus far, I don't know if this is exactly why we do technical analysis, to see if this holds, but look how nicely Bitcoin or Litecoin is trading in this channel, right? This Fibonacci retracement channel is doing exactly what we anticipate that it will, right? And that is acting as support. And that is what Fibonacci retracement is. $2 super chat from Rick. Rick, what's up, Rick? It's awesome to see you here. Keep up the good work, brother. Thank you, dude. God bless you. It's nice to see you here. Thank you for a super chat for LAUNCHPAD Foundation. So it's doing what it needs to do. So Fibonacci retracement is really based off of Leonardo Fibonacci, famous old-time mathematician. Not going to get into it because just to be completely upfront with you, I hate math. I was terrible at math. I just don't like math. But what I like about Fibonacci retracement and his theories are how numbers, that's what this is based on, is numbers and percentages, how they really do kind of play out, right? So we see these we see these harmonies in numbers integrated into things like art and music and charts, like charts that you see on the screen. And so when we find consistencies within Fibonacci retracements, it's because of simply Leonardo Fibonacci's theory. And it really is reliable, in my opinion, in terms of charting. Some people don't like it. I do. So for this, for the sake of this video, the Fibonacci retracement and for this pattern is playing out really nicely, right? We just saw how it's playing out over here on Bitcoin weekly charts, right? Here's Fibonacci retracement on a weekly chart, 786 to 618 resistance back here. And we're getting a similar resistance, potential resistance up here. That's a weekly chart. And then on this 4-hour chart, it's playing into our ascending triangle pattern. Now, I guess with this pattern, there's a couple of things going on. This is really, really dependent on how you want to do technical analysis. Often when I have a nice, pattern information, I hate changing lines. I just hate it. I think it takes away from the reliability of the pattern. It makes me less committed as just an technical analyst. And a good example of that is this pattern here, right? This rising wedge pattern here that we're still tracking. It's still in play, and it's because we didn't move our bottom trend line, right? We could have easily moved and updated this bottom trend line, in any way that we wanted, but we didn't. We stuck with it, and it's actually providing a ton of value for us in terms of breakout targets. It's still in play. So Litecoin, I don't want to mess around with this, right? And you can mess around with it in the regard of saying, well, if you're going by 4-hour closes, then you'd have 4-hour close here, first low, 4-hour close there, higher low, and you still have a 4-hour close here. So you kind of you can essentially extend this triangle if you want. You can reformat it so that it's kind of longer and bigger. But since I've already had it charted, we've already been tracking it, I just like to keep it where it is. That lower trend line for Litecoin right now, I think, is really a good data point to look at in terms of resistance. You can see right now this bottom trend line of this triangle, since we're not moving it, is almost perfectly confluent. If you can see there, the blue line, that's the 50 moving average on the 4-hour chart. And so far in these last 2 4-hour candles, what do you see? You see Litecoin wicking up into that area. So that is potentially giving us a sign of some resistance here at this 136 area. So I want to keep that in play. I want to keep this pattern in play, and I really want to see if Litecoin can do something to break through this lower trend line and this 50 moving average. I think it's extremely important. Litecoin's kind of at a critical area if it wants to see continuation, right? And that happens every time we see Litecoin break through a moving average. So 50 moving average on the 4-hour, it happened back here, but we hop right back above it, and then we saw what we want to see. We see support above the 50 moving average. That's what I'm looking for now. Currently, Litecoin seeing a lot of resistance since June 24th, yesterday, below the 50 moving average, confluent with this lower trend line. A break above that area and support, then we're talking some bullishness, and we're talking potential breakout to the upside of this this ascending triangle. And I think we covered what that would look like in terms of a breakout, right? So a breakout would put us right around 160, 162. That's as of, yeah, well, that's pretty much any time we're breaking the upper trend line. So right now we have a little bit of a ways to go to get there, right? Because we have resistance at the 50 moving average just above us. We have to make our way to the upper trend line, right? So 5%, 6% or so from that upper trend line, 6.5%, and then we have to break it. That can happen extremely quickly, but right now, being the resistance we've been seeing on this 4-hour chart for Litecoin, we're not there yet. We're obviously not there yet, especially because all eyes right now are on Bitcoin. Everybody's watching Bitcoin, and so a lot of altcoins are just simply not doing anything. They're not performing. And it's funny, like every time I see tweets and comments all the time, like, why is Litecoin not moving? What the heck? Bitcoin's going crazy. And this is crypto, everybody. The same thing happens with Litecoin going crazy and Bitcoin's not doing anything. They don't always move at the same time. In fact, often it's completely at opposite times, right? So, you know, you might have Litecoin have a 15% day. You might have Litecoin finally making a move to its target, 20%, right? And Bitcoin's up like 3%. That happens. You got to be prepared, and you can watch them separately. So in terms of both of these, LTC and BTC, here's the biggest thing that I'm just watching right now. Just trying to have some patience, which is, you know, right now for the last 2 weeks or so, Litecoin on the LTC BTC pair down 26%. If you traded LTC into BTC at this high, you know, good for you. I don't really trade pairs at all, right? I'm just pretty much always buying Bitcoin and Litecoin, but that was well played if you did do that. So the biggest thing I'm looking at right now is are we going to get a right shoulder formation, you know, and this could take some time to play out. I mean, you can see the left shoulder formation, just looking back, had a bunch of ups and downs in it, with finally the formation happening, right back up to this neckline, and then we had our head down here, and now we're just kind of maybe possibly forming a right shoulder. It's a pattern that is not played out yet. It's a bullish pattern that I'm looking for to play out. And it's going to take some patience, right? This is a weekly chart. This left shoulder goes back to May of 2017. That's over 2 years ago. So I have a $1,000 Litecoin here because I use this chart on my $1,000 Litecoin video. But this partly plays into that. This plays into Bitcoin, you know, by year's end, right? I don't know, potentially $40,000, $50,000. If Bitcoin's at $50,000, I believe Litecoin, if it's at 0.02, which is what this neckline is, Litecoin would be around $1,000, I think, if I remember correctly. Will that happen? How's this going to play out? I have no idea. This is why I enjoy charting. Hopefully it's why you enjoy watching the charts as well, which is kind of just anticipating bullish patterns in formation. One of the most bullish patterns, speaking of inverse head and shoulders, is the most bullish of bullish inverse head and shoulders that really got us to where we are, right? I remember tracking this inverse head and shoulders with the head being the low of Litecoin on December 14th, the day after my birthday. It's there, and you know, I love that I just keep the picture of that there. That's one reason I don't like deleting it. But huge bullish pattern for Litecoin, leading us into 500% gains. So when we're talking about LTC, BTC, and we're talking about the dominance of Litecoin, here's a potential inverse head and shoulders. Will it play out? I don't know. It could fail in the next 2 weeks, right? And that would look like us closing a weekly candle below the head here, down here. So, by the way, these weekly candles at this head are December of 2018. So let's see what happens in terms of the LTC BTC pair. Going back to Bitcoin now, you can see Bitcoin on the 4-hour has not done anything since I left this chart a few minutes ago. So I'm not going to sit here all day and wait for it to break. We can keep an eye on it right now. Bitcoin just kind of hanging out around 11,900. Saw some gains though in the making of this live stream, so that's cool. Keep an eye on it. Targets to the upside. We have smaller ascending triangle targets, 12,400. 12,400 right there, and then larger busted rising wedge targets, 12,700. Two really cool targets to keep an eye out on, all while saying be careful, because Bitcoin is, if you look at the daily charts, Bitcoin is overbought. Bitcoin is overbought in the stock RSI. We're 40% overextended from the 50 moving average right here. I think it's 40%. 40% overextended from the 50 moving average. And then lastly, on the weekly charts, we are in that, right at that overbought resistance area, that average line going back the lifetime of Bitcoin. So be careful out there. Will we get resistance? Will Bitcoin continue kind of going crazy? I don't know, but it's the first time we're in this overbought area. So it's extremely exciting. If you look at the stock RSI has a little bit of momentum, a little bit of space for momentum to the upside. We're already in overbought, but when you see the stock RSI kind of hitting the overbought line at 80 and bouncing off, like that could be the amount of space that Bitcoin needs to hit our targets in that $12,400, $12,700. So let's keep an eye on it. Those are my thoughts, everybody. I appreciate you coming to this live stream today. If you're here and you're not a subscriber, I would just love to have you a subscriber. I was watching the analytics on my account today. It's like 50% of viewers aren't subscribers, which is all good. I know I got to earn it. I'll do anything I can to earn it. I'll continue working hard for you. But if you're here and you're not a subscriber, if you got any value out of what you saw here, hit that subscribe button. I would love to have you as part of the channel. Super Chatters, you're awesome. Appreciate you. Sarah and I love you. We pray that you have an amazing rest of the night tonight. Remember, I'm extremely bullish. I need a Bitcoin logo on here too. Very bullish. I will see you all in the next video. Have a great night, and God bless.